walkout in the final interview of The Vice. I said, we've had 3 hours of questions. Where are the questions about the good that Andrew is doing for men? That's how they got popular. And that's been completely shelved by the mainstream media.
You were there for the... Can you give us what actually went down? Because you guys were actually both there for the Vice interview. You guys showed them fantastic hospitality. You hung out with them. You guys took them to the event, etc. Can you guys give us the background on that? I mean, because when I saw that documentary, I was literally shocked after I saw how Andrew had welcomed to the home and treated them so well and what they try to do.
I don't want to give it too much attention because the whole thing's just a bit embarrassing, but it's definitely worth raising. Well, my role was to get War Room members to talk to these Vice lads because none of the War Room members correctly trusted Vice.
Yeah, understandably.
But then Vice paint that Andrew and I are somehow trying to chaperone them and stop them to talking to people. If it wasn't for Andrew and me saying to guys, hey, you okay to talk to Vice, it wouldn't have happened. Very positive event, numerous days of building men up, teaching them to face their fears, do something that's life-changing, transformational in terms of an experience, and everyone was very positive about it, those who did fight, those who didn't. None of that was shown.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Literally. Oh, and even with this Matt guy, he was enjoying himself.
He had a transformational experience.
He had a good time.
You can see on camera as well.
But as soon as the cameras came on, at certain points he'd act all sheepish and all scared. I'm going to say something a lot of people might not like. I actually really like Matt. I got on with him really well. I thought he was a good dude. He had good intentions. I didn't think he was a bad person. And I think all these death threats against him should stop. I think that's completely inappropriate.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And Tate would not approve any of that. And no War Room member would ever act like that. That needs to stop. But what you see at the end of it was the real agenda come out. And even though they found themselves enjoying it, even though they were sharing stories, enjoying my car, that they asked to see my car. I didn't say, hey, let's go and have an interview on my car. Like
they asked to go in your Ferrari.
Yeah, exactly. It's a car. I don't care. But when you saw the post-edit and when you saw the agenda coming out in the final interview, that's when I was like, Matt, this hurts, mate. We were good to you. We lifted you up. Everyone was on their feet cheering for him when he went into the ring. Tristan gave him a hug afterwards. There was some brotherhood there, and he would have felt it. And if he hears this, Matt knows that his life is lacking. He knows he lacks physicality. He knows he lacks respect from his fellow man. He knows he lacks brotherhood. And I bet you the state of his relationships with women is probably terrible too. Yeah. He knows these things. He was getting a taste of what it's like to act like a man with drive, with discipline, with brothers who care about him. But then the leftist narrative took over and he had to paint it in a negative way. He had a good time there. This whole concept that he was scared or intimidated, we were sitting around joking all day. I was with them the whole time. So on a personal note, again, no ill will to the guy, and I want all that harassment of him to stop for the record. Yeah. I still like him, and I still think he's a good guy. He's just consumed with this leftist woke religion, which is a religion at this point. But overall, I still have a lot of respect for him, and I think he's a good dude. His mind has just been fried by the religion of wokeism. And you can see it. He's a deeply unhappy, unfulfilled person. That's my take on the Vice doco, mate.
Sorry, please.
I'm sorry.
No, you got it.
How much pull do you think he had over the last edit?
What I actually see, and again, I mean, we're all pretty intelligent people, right? Yeah. At that final speech where Andrew said, well done on the event, you guys have all done well, does anyone have any feedback? Matt had questions he'd already decided in his head. And what he said was, yes, it was a good event, but now you're going to step into my ring and I'm going to give you an interview. So this whole time they'd planned that, right, I'll say on camera that after we've done your battle domain, the ring, you're going to come into my domain and we're going to have a debate. Honestly, massive mistake on my behalf or on Tate's behalf. If we'd recorded that final Vice debate, Andrew chewed him up and spat him out. It was terrible to watch. Here we have our man Matt, a so-called reporter, ready to show his battleground and ask difficult questions. Every single question, Andrew just outclassed him on every level. And I promise you, Vice will never release that because it made them look so embarrassed. Yeah. It was so embarrassing for them and showed how, okay, so you're a former law enforcement guy, right? Yeah. I'm a professionally trained investigator as well. If you want to ask professional questions, they should be open questions. They should be probing questions. Every question was loading and leaded. At one point, Matt even said, there's a lot of women who self-harm, and then tried to say that was Andrew's fault.
Wow.
At which point Andrew's like, hang on, this is disgusting. Of course I'm anti these sorts of things. But every single attempted loaded and leading question that Matt put forward, Andrew shut down. It was actually clinically beautiful to watch in terms of debate. But just to get back to the point, the whole thing was scripted from the start. I think what happened was the Vice guys, they lost it. And also Jamie, the other producer, he's a G. He does his boxing. He was enjoying himself. One of the camera guys, 1 hour stormed out, actually said, you know what? Jules right, this is actually pretty unethical of us. So the guys got caught up in the brotherhood, in the experience, in the transformational positive experience. But then when they went back, well, hang on, we have a script here. We have a pre-planned way we want this doco to go, which is, yes, you've had your fun in your battleground and now you're coming into mine, Andrew. But of course, in their battleground, they could only show 20 seconds of it because it was
20 seconds of a 3-hour interview.
3 hours. It was a long time.
That tells you
That's telling.
how amazing Andrew's responses were. They could not find, in 3 hours, they couldn't find more than 20 seconds of gotcha material.
And the gotcha material was me saying, look, guys, I'm feeling emotional about this. This is hurting me because we've shown you a good time and you've said to me you've had a good time and now you're pretending that everything was terrible. I need to leave. I got up and I left. Like it was, the whole thing was a real insight into the mind of the leftist in that even if they know the way they're living is unfulfilling, and even if they know there's an alternative, I mean, what man wants to be physically timid and weak? Why not go to the gym? Why not build yourself? What man wants to have no real friends or no real hobbies? The admission of these guys behind the scenes. And then see a bunch of guys who look after each other, who are passionate about what they do, who are doing big things in the world of business, the world of physicality, fighting, all these sorts of things. But they stick to their unfulfilling existence because their woke mind virus tells them to. I have no ill will against Matt, and I feel sorry for him. And genuine offer, I'd like to hang out with the guy again and see if we can make him a little bit more fulfilled as a man. If he joined the war room, his life would improve exponentially. That's the reality.
And another thing too is, you know, when people see, for us, that's like a foreign concept what he did, because when you're around guys that treat you well, show you out, show you a good time, make you a better guy, you're inclined to be loyal to them, treat them well, and reciprocate. You wouldn't try to catch them off guard. Oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. We you know, like on our podcast, right? When a guest comes on, what do we always ask? Hey, anything you don't want to discuss? Hey, what do you don't want to talk about, etc. Because we respect our guests. We want to always make our guests look good. If someone brings you into their home, someone shows you a good time, etc., you would show respect and loyalty to that person because they treated you well. And it's like, okay, you know what, man? I know Vice kind of wanted me to do this stuff, but you know what, man? You're not that bad of a guy. Yeah. Vice, you know what? I think we need to show this in a more positive light.
Jamie said that, brother.
You know?
The guy behind the scenes directing it, he said those actual words. But I'm not a snake, so I didn't record it and put it out on the internet.
Yeah, right. You would that's what good, noble men do, right? They do what's right, not what feels right because of whatever is going on at the time. You do what is right.
Even today.
Yep. Vice is a dying organization. That's another thing.
Oh, no,
it was worth $5 billion not that long ago. Now it's worth $1 billion. These guys are scrambling for their jobs. They're scrambling for relevance. They're scrambling for attention. In a year's time, no one will know who they are. Vice will probably be bankrupt. Andrew Tate will be the biggest brand in the world, inshallah.
Yeah.
Because the truth wins in the end. And if you're trying to push, because we look at Vice, they push pedophilia.
Yep.
They push drug use all the time.
Drug culture.
There's so much drug use. Yeah, exactly.
Vice.
If you're trying to push a message that worsens people's lives, you're not going to win in the end. If your key thing, which is making men and therefore by extension women and therefore by extension society a more fulfilled, more driven, more disciplined place, which is Andrew's message, you're going to win in the end. I'm hurting, we're all hurting, but at the end of the day, the truth will win out. Those putting out the positive message for humanity will beat Shaitan.
But to be honest, nobody watches Vice anyway, so they needed that interview with Andrew. They needed that bad take on it.
And here's the thing: if they had done it positively, positive masculinity, talked about all the good of getting in there, facing your fear, competing, all these tenements of masculinity, they probably would have done way better views. They would have been way more positive.
Or at least show both sides. At least show both sides.
At least show both sides. But they put, even when you watch the documentary with the music, the way they framed it, it's like, oh wow, these guys are evil, blah blah blah.
And
instead
the
of talking about the positive,
it's so off to make Andrew look really bad.
And it made them
the
look
music
even
in the
stupider.
background.
And it made them look even worse, man.
Yeah. So you're right.
People aren't stupid.
They came with an agenda. So.
Yeah. And the thing is too, they said, because I mean I'm a pretty cautious guy, and I said, look, I'll go on camera because I believe in the Tates and I believe in the War Room. It's a very positive organization, as everyone knows who's inside of it. I'm prepared to put myself in the limelight, and I've been doxxed, I've been cancelled, I've had threats against my family. I'm not crying about it like Matt is. I've received threats too. But the one thing that hurts me the most is if these guys had just done the job objectively like they said they would.
Yep.
Because they said, look, all right, I can promise you, I can give you my guarantee, Matt's words, that we will show both sides of the story. Why then, in a 3-hour final interview with your questions, could you only show 10 seconds, friend? That's not two sides of the story. That's not objective at all. So
it took them forever to put it out too.
Yeah, they don't
Dude,
have.
this was back in August. They did this stuff.
I can explain that. I can explain that, by the way.
waited.
I can explain this. And I'm not sure if this has been explained on the internet before.
Probably not. Hit it.
Vice made the decision not to air the documentary. Now I'll explain why. No, here it is.
Bombshell.
At the end of it, I said, when is it coming out? They said, well, Andrew's quite topical right now. It'll come out 3 weeks, maximum 4. I said, okay, cool. We'll look forward to it. It didn't come out. And what happened was, this is the key indicator. Vice was continually calling Andrew saying, can we please do the final interview again? Because they knew it was so bad. And with everything they had, they didn't have sufficient dirt to put out something that would further their agenda to make Andrew look bad. So they decided, I need to scrap that. The moment he got arrested, the next day, Vice contacted the legal team and said, whoa, we're going to release it again. Because all of a sudden they had enough dirt to make Andrew look bad.
Wow.
They shelved that project because they couldn't use what they had to further their agenda. It was done. It was 6 months later, and then the day after his arrest, boom, they're on again. It's so transparent.
I knew when they dropped it out, they got arrested, they were pushing that agenda. Because before, they didn't post it, like you said. All of a sudden, he's in jail, he's being heralded as a trafficker. Put it out
with the fake text message, like all this stuff, with the voice notes and all this stuff.
And purely logically too, if you've got a documentary where you're spending time with the world's most Googled man, why would you sit on it for 6 months?
Yes,
because they couldn't. What they had, they couldn't use. And we see that 3-hour interview, they could only use 10 seconds, which was me having a tantrum
Bombshell
anyway.
right there.
It's hilarious.
And now they're going to sell it to BBC for quite a bit of money. It's going to air on national television, not just the internet.
Wow.
There it is. It's
See,
a money
and they
play.
waited. They waited. That's the crazy part is they waited. And they're trying to spin it in a certain light.